Have you ever been at a place in your life where you just had to freeze, be still? You didn't know what your next move was going to be. If you went forward, you messed some things up. If you go backwards, you mess some things up. All you could do was sit there, be still, and listen. Now, this right here reminds me of the children of Israel when they were free out of captivity from Pharaoh. They were heading to the promised land. And they were in this one place far away from Egypt. And then Moses was instructed by God to tell the children of Israel, I want you to turn around. I want you to make a U-turn. And the place where God was having them to go was a place where they were going to have to be still. If they moved forward, they would end up in the Red Sea, trying to swim across. And we knew that would only lead to death. And if they went backward, they would either be killed by Pharaoh or put back into captivity by Pharaoh, having to go back into bondage, to take back on what they had been freed from. This is what I call the Red Sea experience. See, there are times in life where we may have, or even may be, experiencing this very same thing, where God brings us to a place where we have to be still. We have to listen for His voice. We have to hear what it is that He wants us to do. And then we just have to wait. If we go forward on our own, we'll mess some things up. We may abort our mission. We may forfeit our promise. And then if we decide to go backwards because it's familiar, because it's what we know, it's a place of comfort, although it's not where we should be, although it's actually a place of bondage, although it's actually a place where God is trying to wipe away that mentality or that culture from us. If we go backwards and go there, at least we'll be somewhere. At least we'll be accepted somewhere. But there we'll be lowered. There we won't excel. There we won't reach the promise that God has given us. So what do? When we're in between a place of highland and the sea, and we cannot move, what do? We have to be still. We have to listen. See, the children of Israel had Moses. Moses was in relationship with God. He heard the voice of God. He communed with Him. He listened to Him, and he walked in obedience to Him. But the children of Israel had soon forgotten what they had witnessed in Egypt. The children of Israel had quickly forgotten, all because of where they were now. They didn't trust. They lost faith. But all they had to do was go back. And I'm not saying go back as in walk back. I'm saying think back. Think back to the things that they'd had already seen, what they'd already witnessed. Everything that Moses had said to them, that God said would happen, had already happened. They were being set up for God to get glory. And in our lives, when we're at our Red Sea experiences, something's being set up for God to get glory. Something's being set up in our lives. We don't get to a Red Sea experience from disobedience. We don't get to a Red Sea experience from making our own choices, doing our own thing, from being misguided. We get to a Red Sea experience because we listened, and now we're walking by faith. We don't know where we're going. We don't know what it is that God is doing. All we can do is basically take the advice that Moses gave to the children of Israel. All we can do is fear not, be still, and see the salvation of the Lord. All we can do is trust that what God is doing in our life, He is going to get the glory. And He's not only going to get the glory, but He's going to get us to what He has promised us. He's going to allow others to see His goodness and what He does for us. He's going to perform a miracle. He's going to perform something far beyond what we could ever imagine. But we have to be still, and we have to have faith. We can now do just as Moses did and speak to our Father. We can hear for ourselves the directions. We can stop and think back to all the many things that He's already done in our lives. We don't have to walk in fear. We just have to trust Him. We just have to know that wherever He has brought us, He hasn't brought us here to leave us. He has not brought us here to shame us. He has not brought us here to make us a laughingstock. He's brought us here for His glory. He's brought us here for purpose. He's brought us here for something big. And if God has brought you to a Red Sea experience, know that He is something amazing planned. And He is putting you in a place where there's going to be a large audience. And they will only be able to confess that the God that you serve, the Most High God, is the true and living God.